7th agenda meeting of the South Plainfield Mayor and Council. This meeting has been advertised according to the Open Public Meetings Act NJSA 10:4-6, with adequate notice of this meeting being provided to the borough's two official newspapers and also published on the borough's website. Ms. Antonis, will you call the roll, please?
Yes, Councilman Benjavenda.
Here.
Councilman Dean.
Here.
Councilwoman Fostini.
Here.
Councilman Bash.
Here.
Councilman White.
Here.
Council President Waller.
Here.
Thank you. Can you take us through a review of tonight's agenda, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this evening we have one matter on for executive session. It's a personnel matter regarding health coverage. We have the approval of the December 17th minutes. We have a presentation pertaining to the South Plainfield Sustainability Contest winners. We have 8 resolutions on this evening, 3 matters of correspondence, payment of bills totaling $230,216.87, council reports, and we conclude with public comments. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Council comments on agenda items?
Nothing. Just, Mr. Mayor, if you please separate resolution 1942, 43, 1943, and 1948.
Any others?
No, nothing.
Okay. Can I get a motion for executive session personnel health coverage?
Motion?
Motion by Councilwoman Faustini, seconded by Councilman Dean. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? I vote executive session tonight. At this point, I'll open up for public comments on agenda items only. Seeing none, close the public portion. At this point, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn tonight's agenda meeting.
So moved.
Seeing no reason to delay, with the right to the public meeting. Again, this meeting has been advertised in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-6, with adequate notice of this meeting also being provided to the borough's two official newspapers and published on the borough's website. Ms. Antonides, will you call the roll once more?
Councilman Benjavenda.
Here.
Councilman Dean.
Here.
Councilwoman Fostini.
Here.
Councilman Bash.
Here.
Councilman White.
Here.
Council President Waller.
Here.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation by Councilman White.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For the invocation, I usually don't read a prayer, but a friend of mine, John Padavano, posted this on Facebook. I thought it was very timely for the beginning of the year, so let's pray. Heavenly Father, please walk through our homes. We give you the keys to every room. Take all of our worries, all of our illness, and everything that may have entered that does not belong. Please watch over us and assign your warring angels to stand guard and heal our families from disease, pain, fatigue, or discomfort. Also comfort our friends and relatives. Wrap them in love. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
At this point, once again, I'll open up for public comments on agenda items only. Seeing none? Seeing none? Close the public portion. Can I get a motion for the approval of council minutes, December 17th, agenda, public and executive?
So moved.
Motion by Council President White, seconded by Councilman Benjavenda. Amy, can you call the roll?
Councilman Benjavenda.
Yes.
Councilman Dean.
Yes.
Councilwoman Fostini.
Yes.
Councilman Bash.
Yes.
Councilman White.
Yes.
Council President Waller.
Yes.
Passes 6-0.
Okay, at this point, I'll turn it over to Mr. Longo. Are you spearheading the presentation?
I guess I am. Come with.
Yep. Yep. Your liaison. And then just,
All right, this little house. Don't kill me.
The American flag. The American flag.
Mayor.
This is one happens when everything changes for the reorg.
Mayor Nash, do you want to join us?
Fix the flag, though, and use the presentation.
I didn't know what you're doing.
Good evening, my name is Bob Longo. I chair the South Plainfield Green Team. This is Debbie Boyle. She's a member of the Green Team with me, and hopefully you know Councilman Dean, who's our liaison to the Environmental Commission, and of course the mayor's here with us as well. So the Green Team put together a little contest, and we posed the question, how can South Plainfield become more sustainable? And we asked the high school students to put together a short video explaining or answering that question. And we asked the 5th and 6th grade students to put together an essay to answer that question. And the hope was that they would take this back to their classrooms and have this discussion with their classmates and with their teachers, and hopefully take it home and discuss with mom and dad, and sort of get a discussion going about how we can be better as a community, be more sustainable, be more green, be more friendly. So we got some very interesting responses. And we posted them on our Facebook page just this afternoon. So if you go to the South Plainfield Green Team on Facebook, you'll see the videos posted, and you'll see the essays, link to the essays as well. So you can download those and read them. I encourage you all to do that because they're really quite interesting. So we're going to limit this tonight to just sort of bringing up the students and their parents and their teachers if they're here to accept an award. We have a certificate and a gift card for each of the students who won. So we'll start with the videos. The first place winner for the video was Jerry Shang. Jerry, you can come up. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
So Jerry did a very interesting video where he did some hand drawings and incorporated those into a short video. That I think you'll find very interesting. It's only a couple minutes long, so again, if you can try to drive some action to our Facebook page, you can go there and look at it. I think you'd really enjoy that. Keep everybody up here, I guess?
Yeah,
Get the
because-
whole
yeah.
gang up?
Yeah.
Let's do that. Okay. In the video, second place winner is Vishan Budan. Congratulations. Bashan shot his video in Spring Lake Park on the bridge crossing the lake to discuss some of the issues that he thought were important in South Plainfield. So again, I encourage you to go to our Facebook page and take a look at that video. We have, for the 5th and 6th graders, we gave out actually 4 awards. We had, I think, 19 entries. So we were very pleased with the amount of entries we had. So we decided to give out an extra award. Originally it was just going to be 3. But our first place award goes to Ryan Mooten. Congratulations. So I grab my notes here because Ryan had a lot of good thoughts. In his essay, he discussed sustainable products, recycling, eco-friendly cleaning products. He talked about managing food waste. And I think what really hit home for me was talking about gardens and having people grow their own gardens and the benefits of the food, not just the food, but also working outside and being outside and the benefits of that from a health standpoint. And he reminded us all that these aren't really big steps. We can do this sustainably, like lots of little steps. We don't have to bite off in big chunks. We can do this in small, manageable parts. So I thought that was a very important and very good way to put that. So thank you again, Ryan. Second place goes to Riley Billion. Congratulations. That's for you, young man. Thank you very much. So Riley seemed concerned about the wildlife in South Plainfield. And Riley wanted us to be aware that we should be keeping our waterways clean and our public spaces clean, free from litter. He talked about the wildlife in Spring Lake Park. And he talked about students volunteering to clean up the parks, and he also talked about encouraging us to educate the public about littering and about keeping the waterways clean. So education was a key part of his essay, and we thought that was very important. So thank you very much. And third place goes to Abiyan Khan. Congratulations. There you go. So Avian, in his essay, talked about solar panels as a way to reduce electrical use. He talked about public transportation and carpooling, which I thought was very interesting, and encouraging people to walk. So these are some of the issues that sort of stood out to us in his essay. So thank you. And last but not least, we gave an honorable mention to Isabella Spadavecchia. Is Isabella here? Congratulations.
Thank you.
This is for you.
Isabel.
Isabella had a very interesting idea about a fundraiser that was wrapped around a No Technology Day. I left my phone at home tonight. I feel kind of like naked right now. But so No Technology Day, and the money from the fundraiser would go to charity, and would go to purchase the South Plainfield tree, which we thought was a very interesting idea. And the tree would be a tree that would represent the town of South Plainfield, that we put either somewhere on borough property, in Spring Lake, or somewhere. So we thought the idea of a community tree was a very interesting idea, and that sort of on its own deserves some sort of merit. So thank you all for participating. We enjoyed reading the essays, and congratulations to you all.
So maybe we can take one of the video on
Shall
this
we?
side, one on that side, and then the little ones can go in the middle. Okay? Good,
That
good.
good?
Yeah,
Very
and
good.
just move over a little bit in between, yeah. Good. All right, yeah, that's good. It's a good group. One more.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else, German?
Congratulations.
Good luck.
No, you don't, it's up to you. I know.
Okay, congratulations, everyone. Resolutions, kind of separate these as requested. Can I get a motion for resolutions 19-43 and 19-48?
So.
Motion by Councilman White, seconded by Council President Wola. Ms. Antonides, can you call the roll?
Councilman Benjavanga?
Recuse as both are direct competitors of my employer.
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilwoman Fostini?
Yes.
Councilman Bash?
Yes.
Councilman White?
Yes.
Council President Wool?
Yes.
Passes 5-0.
Thank you. Can I get a motion for resolutions 19-42 to 44 through 47 and 49?
Second.
Motion by Councilman Dean, seconded by Council President Polak. Ms. Antonides, can you call the roll again?
Councilman Benjavanga?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilwoman Fostini?
Yes.
Councilman Bash?
Yes.
Councilman White?
Yes.
Council President Wool?
Yes.
Passes 6-0.
Thank you. We have 3 items for correspondence: Environmental Monthly Report, November 2018, Zoning Board Minutes of October 16th, and the Planning Board Minutes of May 22nd and November 27th. Can I get a motion, please?
Second.
Motion by Councilman Best, seconded by Councilman Dean. Ms. Antonides, can you call the roll?
Councilman Benjavanga?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilwoman Fostini?
Yes.
Councilman Bash?
Yes.
Councilman White?
Yes.
Council President Wool?
Yes.
Passes 6-0.
Thank you. Can I get a motion for payment of the bills of $230,216.87?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Benjavanga, seconded by Council President Warlock. Ms. Antonides, can you call the roll, please?
Councilman Benjavanga?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilwoman Fostini?
Yes.
Councilman Bash?
Yes.
Councilman White?
Yes.
And Council President Wooler?
Yes.
Passes 6-0.
Thank you. Mr. Rizzo, anything for us tonight?
No, Mr. Mayor, progress.
Thank you. Mr. Cullen?
Yes, Mayor, I left everyone a copy of Moody's Investors, second last week of the year, or second week of December, I should say, issued their annual comment on the borough financial, South Plainfield's financials. It's called, I guess, an issuer profile, and it's a credit overview. Just a couple of highlights. They reference under economy and tax base. Overall, the borough has a very healthy economy and tax base, which are slightly favorable in comparison to its AA rating. The median family income equals a robust 152.3% of the U.S. level. And then, under debt and pensions, I think their opening sentences, the debt burden of South Plainfield is exceptionally low and is favorable with respect to its AA rating. So I just figured I'd give everyone a copy of that. We are finalizing our rateable base. It's due on January 10th, and we do believe it's going to increase about $13 million. And with that progress, Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Miller?
Nothing tonight, minor progress.
Thank you. Ms. Antonides?
Progress, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Best?
Just one thing, Mayor, that the light at Woodland and Oak Tree is operating. I've got no complaints with the traffic or signalization, and everything seems to be up to snuff.
No, and I see they did put the signs indicating the words.
They gave them a heads up, they put the signs, and actually, I think they gave it some striking also.
I did that. I didn't notice they did. Okay, perfect.
And with that progress.
Thank you. Councilwoman Faustini?
Well, I just wanted to take this opportunity to wish everyone a happy new year. Looking forward to working again on recreation. This will be 2019 holds to be a year of opportunity and challenge as well. And I'm looking forward to working hard to meet all of that. I know there's a lot of cool questions on everyone's mind. And I'm welcome anybody to bring forth any questions they may have. We are working on finding a home for the swim team. We're close. Meeting is scheduled this week. Working with Director Kevin Hughes, Glenn Cullen. I've met with John and Rob to put forth the rendering and the information sessions for the public, which will definitely be able to supply answers, I hope. And with that, progress.
Thank you. Councilman Dean?
Yes, Mayor. Two things. One, I just want to congratulate the new DPW hires from part-time to full-time. Department's definitely needing the extra manpower. So I just want to congratulate them. The recycling bid date opening, what date is that now? 14th of February. 14th of February. And then real quick too, question. I was sitting at Woodland Avenue, just off of Maple Avenue by the West 9 today, and there's two massive potholes, which I believe are the Edison side. Do we know exactly where the boundary is? The center road the boundary?
Yes, it's essentially the center line of the road. So we have sent those complaints over to Edison. We've been doing the ones on our side.
Yeah, our side's pretty fine. Today there was all ice over there. So I did talk to Councilman Sandelsky over at Edison today, and he actually thought it was South Plainfield side. And then he said, well, maybe it's county road, so then I called up Gary as well. So Gary advised me it's not the county road. So I'm going to try to reach out to them tomorrow to see if we can get them to take care of it. It's pretty bad over there, and it's a dangerous situation right in that one area as well, now that it's all icing over. So with that progress.
And so, Council, that reminds me, so you're right. I mean, most people would think that that's a county road. I mean, it separates two towns. It's, I did talk to the freeholders, I think it was last year, and it was after the Barclays and after, the agreement with Edison where we repaved the side, but yet they still haven't done the other side of the street, from Sprague through Maple. So it seems like the county was okay in taking over that road, but as Gary probably realized, I guess they have to kind of swap out the same amount of borough road for county road. It just might be something that we should look at and propose some roadway that might make sense. I don't know what that's going to be.
I can certainly ask.
Yeah, if you can think about that, and maybe even, I mean, we'll take a look at what makes sense. It's not that all that much roadway, so, but going forward, well, actually it is when you think about the other part of it as well. But going forward, I think it'll be a lot easier to maintain that road, because as you know, it's only gonna be a number of years where what we've just repaved is also gonna start to deteriorate, and we're gonna be back there looking at how do we repave this road.
Well, the biggest problem on that side of Woodland Avenue is that there's no drainage on
Yeah,
the outdoor segment. So the water, every time we do get heavy rains, it just puddles up real bad there, and, you know, it just sits, but, right now, it's got, like I said, the potholes are pretty serious on their side, and now it's freezing over, so it's becoming more of a safety issue than anything.
Yep, absolutely. Anything else, Councilman White?
Thank you, Mayor. Happy New Year, everyone, and progress.
Thank you. Councilman Benjamin.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to congratulate Thomas Gallupo on becoming a firefighter. I had run into him along with Councilman Wallach and some other council members. He lives up on Woodland Avenue, coincidentally, over by West 9. He was asking how to get involved, so it's always good to have new members involved in our fire department. He moved here a couple of years ago, so thank him for the willingness to volunteer. Now, I just want to address a few issues, not on so much of a light note, considering it is our first meeting, but some of the issues I want to address tonight have to do with some things that were said over the past couple of days that have kind of really been appalling to me by comments made on social media and other sources by Councilman Dean and former candidates Keith and Nguyen when it comes to the pool. Someone posted that both planning board and rec commissions are holding meetings at the same time tomorrow. It was said by Councilman Dean that, quote, "Sometimes I wonder if they do this stuff on purpose. My conscience says yes." As Nguyen said, how convenient meeting at the same time. These meetings were not scheduled by us, and were not scheduled in any way to try and take away from resident input. These meetings have been held the second Tuesday of the month for both the Planning Board and the Recreation Commission for years, if not decades. It is state law that these boards act as separate government agencies, and no member of this council can change that schedule. While the record director and liaison are prepared to discuss the pool, tomorrow's meeting was not scheduled to be specifically about discussing the pool. Councilman Dean, you should know this, because a couple weeks ago, we met and we spoke about getting a rendering and setting up a detailed information and question and answer session to discuss the pool. We are preparing to give the public the most info possible so that they understand how we got here and where we are headed. I'm deeply troubled by what came next. Councilman Dean and former candidate Keefe are calling for Mr. Cochran, the president of the Rec Commission, to be replaced. Ms. Keefe said, quote, "Maybe someone else should become president of the commission. After 30 years on the commission, we have a pool that's in dire shape, as well as many parks in disrepair." Mr. Cochran was appointed and served under at least 2 Democrat mayors for 20 years, and I applaud Mayor Nash for reappointing him years ago. Mr. Cochran has been and always will be a champion for our children, who he has done for 30 plus years, and I thank you for that. What concerns me is that in April, Ms. Keefe went after our Recreation Commission saying, quote, "Nothing has been done in over 8 years. Then after Mr. Cochran laid out the facts, Ms. Keefe doubled down on her argument. At the debate, she continued to criticize the commission for those 8 years, but then said she's only lived here for 4. To make matters worse, we repeatedly told them that they want concerns to attend a Recreation Commission. She's never attended one, yet is calling for Mr. Cochran's replacement. Now let's talk about some facts about the pool. What I'm about to say is only a preview of things to come. As we know, the pool opened in 1967. Not one improvement was made until 2004, when a liner was put on. It's debatable as to whether or not that was the right thing to do at that time. That was after 37 years on a useful life of 25. In 2012, we installed a new recirculating system, pipes, and repairs. In 2015, when the deep end was compromised and the shell underneath, we made a major investment to fix it. At that time, Democrats didn't support it and voted against it. If that did not happen at that time, the pool would have closed 4 years ago. This mayor has been the biggest advocate of the pool, and more has been invested than any other administration. On August 13, 2018, Mayor Nesh announced that major renovations were needed to fix the pool. He recommended we hire an engineer to evaluate it. Councilman Faustini asked that a spray feature be researched. The committee was set up with Councilman Dean, Councilwoman Faustini, and Councilman Wolak. The engineer's report came out in November, and after review, the Democracy Week was the only option. Regardless of any year that this work would have been had to take place, the pool would have closed for at least one season. Councilman Dean, in 2016, you campaigned on the pool saying, quote, the pool loses money each year, and that the pool itself is in need of a major upgrade. That was 2 years ago. You have been on council now for 2 years, and haven't once up here asked a question about upgrading the pool. The engineer report came out in November, and you didn't ask a question until Democracy Week was brought up. To me, this is something we should all be coming together to make a better South Plainfield. Not be pointing fingers or calling resignations, or resignations. That doesn't do any good. So I hope we can all come together and work on this as one team with that progress.
Mayor, if you don't mind,
Sure.
comment on that as well. Today I was able to spend quite a few almost an hour or two at least, on the phone with Kevin Hughes as well to go over a lot of this. And I asked him, I said, Kevin, I said, quite honestly, I said, who made the determination that the pool can't open this coming season? I said, was it just, was it the committee? Is there the health department that inspects the pool, or is there a pool association that actually comes out and inspects the pool? And, Kevin told me, he goes, no, he goes, it's basically all three. The pool company that opens up our pool in April made the notification to Kevin as well, with the report or whatever, that this was pretty much the last straw for the pool. I guess the county then came in as well to do their inspections and said that the pool is no longer going to be able to open next year without having all these necessary repairs done, whether it's all the concrete around the pool that has dropped significantly. And he said with the recommendation of, I guess, Councilwoman Faustini and the committee as well, that the pool would then no longer be open. But we found this out back in April, whenever that time frame when the pool was open. So I'm just curious as well, on top of, we'll go to that end of it. I also asked him, I said, well, who oversees the pool? I said, because if you go on the borough website, under the recreation end of it, it says the Recreation Commission oversees the pool, parks, all this stuff. And he said, John, that's wrong. He goes, the Recreation Commission does not oversee the pool or the parks. They can give insight as to it, but their main focus and function as a recreation committee is for the activities that the rec department holds throughout the year. So I said, okay, fine. So one, I think there's a lot of misled information with the website, and that should be corrected as well, because I've received numerous calls and emails, again, stating, well, why, if the recreation committee has been appointed to this, council for so long, for so many years, they're telling me they didn't know that there was an issue with the pool, and now we've never planned in the future or in the past for the future to make these necessary repairs. Yes, when I was running for council, I did advocate for upgrading our pool, spray features and all that stuff. I had no idea that our pool was in that bad of shape. From personal appearance of it, I just thought that the concrete around it was bad. The Band-Aids that we've constantly put on, which I didn't know, the recirculation stuff that was done back in, you said 2004, 2008, was a Band-Aid. That's why the pipes.
No, the pool liner was the Band-Aid in the floor.
Well, Kevin told me today that the recirculation, all that, was abandoned as well. That's why the recirculation lines are sitting above ground and not in the walls like a normal in-ground
That's
pool.
because the liner covered the recirculation system and the drains in the.
I understand it, but it still was abandoned. It's not done correctly, and he said to this day, it's still not done correctly. So there is a lot of issues. So when me and Kevin were talking, he goes, well, John, how would you have planned for the future for something like this? I said, well, honestly, I said, the pool is made for repair. Spray features would be great, but the pool is, you can't have spray features without having a pool. So, like I suggested during our meeting that we just had in December, the pool needs to be pumped out, the liner needs to be cut out, and we need to get an engineer in there to inspect the shell of the pool. Now, did I advocate, I wasn't saying that we need to get rid of Mr. Cochran. It was taken out of text. I was more concerned that we were changing public celebrations to individuals, that we sit up here every time that public celebration does something and we commend them for the work that they do, but then we're changing them. So when I said if we're going to be changing things, and at that time not knowing that the Recreation Commission really doesn't have control of our pool and the work that goes on in the pool, well, obviously there's no reason to change Mr. Cochran and whoever else was appointed. I've known Mr. Cochran my entire life. My family has been friends with him. We grew up with him and his kids and everything like that. So I wasn't advocating to get rid of Mr. Cochran. I was just using the phrase that if there's a problem with a commission and they weren't doing what their job was supposed to be, which again, online, on the borough website, dictates that they are to oversee the maintenance and the way the pool operates and everything going forward with the pool. However, that's incorrect. So that piece of information is not valid, and obviously you can't say get rid of Mr. Cochran because he has really no control over it. So then I also asked Mr. Hughes today too. I said, again, about our parks. I said, how often does the commission get together and review our parks, walk our parks, and check out our parks? He said, never. He goes, I check out the parks. I visit them once, twice, 3 times throughout the year as much as I can. Okay, understandable. I had asked you, we met back in, I don't know, I think it was August sometime frame, where it was Glenn, Rob, Councilwoman Festini, Glenn Miller, and, our DPW tree expert, Paul Zwaggy. I said, let's meet at Cobb Street Park. Cobb Street Park has approximately probably 30 dangerous dead trees there. I said, look at the walking path. The walking path is deteriorated. It's broken up all over the place. The basketball court is deteriorated, shot. Tree roots are running all over the place. So, yes, I did talk about parks, and I do visit our parks, probably a lot more frequently than some people around here do. I mean, I'm in town all day. I'll drive around. I'll check. I was at Southside Park the other day, just checking it out. Volleyball, nets and everything's a mess, everything. So now that I'm on the Recreation Commission as well with Councilwoman Festini and Rob, I suggest that once the weather breaks, before the spring, hopefully sooner than later, we get together and we walk each park on whatever it is, night, weekends, or at least visit these parks and review them to the best and see what is wrong with them, compile a list and see what we can do moving forward to get everything back in line. I like to plan for the future. It's the way I run my business. So I don't want to wait for the bomb to go off and then try to fix it. I try to be proactive. So if we stay on top of our parks and we stay on top of our pool and going forward, it'll be just better for the community and the residents themselves.
And my point is, instead of going on social media, we need to work together up here on a dais as a council together, regardless of anything, to make sure that we give what our residents deserve, and that's better, whether it's community pool or parks or whatever.
But why was the residents not notified? I mean, we just said it in December or November, whatever meeting it was.
In August is when we requested the engineer to go in. In April, there was damage found in the pool. We put through a resolution for an emergency repair in June, I believe, that we knew would get us through the season, and they said, please, do some research, which we did as the pool was closing.
I mean,
So,
Kevin's not here, but let me just mention a couple of things. Back when we had done the improvements, back in 2015, the deep end had buckled, and essentially the shell had buckled. So that was the reason why we had to pull the diving boards out. That was the reason why, we ended up filling in the deep end, we changed the shell in that area, we moved the diving blocks back and forth, we ended up putting in a whole new pump house, even though the pump house is the same, but we put in all new pumps. So when that was all done, I just know on our side, we were getting reports that things were, the pool was warmer, we were using less chemicals and everything else. So this year, we started to get buckling in the 5-foot area. The liner was, we realized in the late spring that the liner had come down in a couple of other areas. So we ended up having RGR come in and fix some of this. So and one of the things I'm going to mention, Councilman, is we're not even sure right now that we can fully empty the pool because the engineer said there's some concerns that if you take all the water out of the pool, whether or not with all the rain and all the pressure, whether or not the walls can be pushed in. So I mean, we're doing a lot of things here to make sure. I mean, no one likes the pool more than me, and I think there's a bunch of people in the front row here that know that. So when we ended up fixing the liner and doing those things this summer, until we got into May or June of this year, we realized we're going through chemicals like crazy because the pool was leaking all over. Now, I've been a member of the pool, most of my life. I remember back in like 1998, before I worked for the town, when my kids were on the Tiger Sharks. I remember, I think I see Cheryl in the back of the room. I even think we had a petition in '98 about the pool leaking. So I don't know who was mayor, I don't know who was rec director, but I mean, the pool, I was 7 days old when the pool was first opened. So I think we got the CO, I was looking at it, we got the CO January 11th, 1967. I was 7, so I didn't cause the problem, but I'm just gonna say, the pool is as old as me, for everybody who thinks I look old. So we're doing everything that we can, and so when we had made those improvements back in 2004, it's really the first time the shell had been fixed really by anybody.
The shell was not in 2004.
I mean, not 2004, I'm sorry, 2015. So 2004, although we put down a liner, no one really addressed the shell until 2015. We had made some modest improvements back in 2006 because the skimmers had totally separated from the wall. So we ended up, and some of you in the front row are going to remember this, or the second row, I see the second row here is nodding their head. So we ended up back in 2006 trying to go in and anchor the skimmers, which were taking, which is taking the water back to the pump house, to the wall itself. So the useful life is 25 years according to Mr. Miller. We're at 52 years, whether it's 52, 53. When we made this fix back in April, we've had a number of Aprils where the engineer says, I'm not sure if we're going to be able to open. I don't know how long this is going to continue. And the reality is, for the people that are in the room, the pool hasn't operated at a profit in years. And it's hard to save money for a pool replacement when you're not operating in the black. That's just the kind of the way it is. So really, the hope was that the deep end, which was a 12-foot section, which was under the most pressure, every year we were having problems, the hope was that main fix would be the main fix. We wouldn't have other areas to go. So, I have the listing of what's here, but the reality is, this isn't anything that any of us wanted. This Thursday we have a meeting set up to try to see, I currently am trying to work with 2 different swim clubs to get a location for the Tiger Sharks. I know Mr. Hughes, Kevin, he's not here tonight, is working with someone to try to see if he can get a place for the seniors. Len right now is looking through applications to see what people Public Works can hire that were lifeguards. One of the swim clubs that we're looking at is going to have a job fair, and we're going to try to give them a listing of our employees. So there's a lot of moving parts here. It isn't just one thing with the pool. It's the pool, it's the staff, and it's, I think, Mayor, you said back, and that was the other thing, Mayor. Sometime when we had spoken back in August, the pool was still operating. We said, listen, we're going to need major improvements. So I don't think your press release, because those usually come through my office. That wasn't issued in November or December. That was issued while the pool was still in season. That wasn't issued after the season. So that was still in the season that we knew that we were going through all sorts of chemicals. And for anybody that's been here, that's been involved with the pool, we know we've been trying to fix, something that is 52 years old. And it's not an easy fix.
And we do have Democracy Week, which has been in place since, what, the 80s, Councilman? 90s. And so, look, if you didn't go out to Democracy Week, it's going to take time. It's going to take time to do it right. You're going to have to prepare the facts, just like that's starting, today, and get that out to the public. We don't have the luxury to just be able to go in and do the work, and we're running in, obviously, the climate that we live in doesn't make that possible.
Man, I don't mean to interrupt you, but that's even one last comment I want to make, is when we had the deep end buckle, and it was just the 12-foot section, if you remember, we ended up going out, we passed that ordinance the very first meeting in January, and just doing that section, we still opened the pool late back in 2015.
Yeah.
And we ended up extending it, I think, the week after Labor Day. So, and that was just, small in comparison to what we're looking at now. I mean, just like with the library. I mean, the library was closed at one time. I wish I could say to everybody here, we're going to be able to fix the entire pool in 3 months. And it's just, what I'm getting from the engineers, everyone, that's just not a realistic time frame.
Well, not only that, the engineers also said that the best time for doing the work at the pool is during the season, because they have, all the availability to be able to do it. So that's what they were saying.
Yeah, that's correct. And I just think that with the number being so big as it is right now, we still don't know 100% of the facts of the shell and, all
Mr.
that.
Dean is right.
Yeah.
Part of that quote for the engineer doesn't include all the shell.
Yeah, it doesn't.
So if we make the shallower and a zero entry, obviously that
Well,
section of the shell will be fixed.
That's
but-
one of the things that Kevin, had mentioned to me today, that doing any kind of major renovation at the pool will have to bring this pool up to ADA compliance.
Absolutely.
Which, either we're gonna have
It's
to
not.
put in a small ramp going down into the pool with a barrier wall as an access ramp, or you just make the entire, shallow end of the pool a zero entry, walking into the pool. He said that's stuff for us to decide and with the engineer to see which would work best, obviously. I just think, I know we talked, during the last meeting, you had mentioned that, paving the road there up to off Katy Lane up to Avon Ave, paving the pool parking lot, paving the Powell parking lot, doing the curbing. I'm fine and dandy with doing all that. It definitely needs it. I just think that should be something that should be paid for out of our road improvement projects and not, bonding it into this pool construction.
I think it needs to be separated, right? And so it's not, and I talked to the administrator before on that, and I think potentially we need to give options, right? Because there's going to be options that can have. You can have the basic necessary, enhancements and work that needs to be done to get the pool, like you said, up to ADA capabilities. But then we've got to think about the future, right? Part of the reason why the pool loses money, is because we're competitive, I think, with rates across other
Yes.
municipalities in the
Right.
area. So it's not the rates. We're not giving away the service for free. You can make some argument that we're probably giving away lessons for a little cheaper than we could.
Yeah.
But it comes down to the number of residents. So we can't just hike the fee up for either in residents or out of state or out of borough residents and think that we're going to make that up by putting yet another Band-Aid on that pool, raising the rates, because what in all reality we'll probably do is drive more people away. We'll have, those costs that we've invested in there, we'll have problems down the road that we'll have to fix, and we'll probably have less members than we do today. So unfortunately, this is the right way to do it, and, I think we just need to make it clear and give the residents of the borough the opportunity to weigh in on that and to make sure that we have enough opportunity to see the different, decisions that are impacting us. I've been a member of the pool for years, and not so much recently, but I won't say I broke my own pool when I was a kid, because hopefully my father's not watching. We had an above-ground pool, but I enjoyed many years over there. My kids were on the swim team as well. The last thing I think we wanted to do is close down cherished areas of the community. We had to do that. It was a decision we did with the library. We knew that there was going to be some pain there, as the administrator said. I don't see any other way around this. I have faith that the residents will come out and support the referendum, the non-binding referendum. And if they don't, I think we're going to have some decisions to make, right? Because,
So what happens?
well, it's non-binding, so, look, I think we're going to have to work with Kevin and Councilwoman Faustini and all of us up here to make sure that we're putting the facts out there and not trying to sway one way or the other and let the residents decide. But then we're not off the hook. We're going to have to decide exactly what needs to be done. And if we're the governing body who wants to close the community pool forever, I don't think any of us want to go down in history in that. So I think what we're going to do is get the facts out there, and hopefully we'll be known as the governing body that did it right,
Yes.
that invested in the community, that put together a pool that hopefully turns things around, continues some employment for the youth, but actually has an attraction or a venue that's going to be enjoyed for residents for years to come. So,
And one thing, Mayor, that I think that all of us will agree up here, some things that will be put out there were, well, if it goes down, what are they going to do? Are they going to build apartments? Are they going to put housing? This is a recreational piece of property. It always will be. That's the way it's on our books. So that is completely false. If we have to reassure the public and put the resolution on there to do that, that's fine. But the one thing that Councilman Dean and Councilman Faustini and I talked about is if for some reason that the referendum does go down, we all need to sit together, put our heads together, and come up with a solution. So, don't believe all that other ideas.
Mayor, and I just want to, figure since I'm getting everything out here right now, I just want to mention one last thing. I know there's been some comments about, well, maybe swimming isn't supported like the other sports. So, just so now none of my kids wrestled. I had 2 boys, none of my kids ever wrestled. Basketball, recreation, basketball, soccer, softball, field hockey, all those sports have volunteer coaches. The swim team coaches, who I know extremely well, I think they're the best coaches in town. It's the only sport that the town invests in paying those coaches to teach the students, and there's a lot of uniqueness there. You're talking, 8 years old to 18 years old. There's a lot of issues between, well, actually, those kids on the team 5. There's a lot of issues between 5 and 18, boys, girls. They do an incredible job. But the notion that, we've never been supportive, or no one has been supportive, and I'm not saying this as Democrats and Republicans, because I've worked for Democrats and Republicans. I'm just saying this as being the town administrator and what I've seen. And we've been committed to swimming as we've been committed to any other sport. And you could even make the argument more so because all the other sports are volunteer coaches, and we've paid for the coaches there. And so, and it's been great. We've trained hundreds of kids. There's moms in this room whose kids have gone on swimming scholarships to college. And I think, this is one of these things where one of the main issues is we're dealing with a pool that is, construction actually started in '65. So even though we're saying it opened in '67, construction started in '65. So.
And just, I guess, maybe one last thing here. What I would say is, so Democracy Week, we're still working that out. We're targeting that for March. But again, if we're not ready, if we don't have the right question, if we don't have the right materials, if we don't have the right amount of time for the information sessions, we'll push that back if we have to. We'd rather get it right, get the questions out there, and make sure people have the facts than just try and meet, a deadline. We're going to be aggressive to try and meet that March deadline because we think it's critical of putting everything in place that would fall upon, hopefully it passing and the governing body, starting to get that investment forward. But if needed, we'll push it back a little bit. Anything else before we close out Councilman Benjavanga's longest council report in history? And we'll turn it over to Council President Woloch.
Well, on a lighter but serious note, just to remind everybody, I know we all feel safe in town. We pull into the driveway and we bring our stuff out of the car and we walk in the house. Remember, just lock your doors. Because be safe, make sure the door's locked so no one can come around and move it in front of you. Just remember to click it and lock it when you get home. And with that, have a happy and prosperous New Year and progress.
Thank you. At this point, we'll open it up for public comments. Anything on your mind? You could just come. If you could just come up to the front, state your name for the clerk and address, and then
apologize for listening later, because I'm used to talking to kids.
We're all kids.
I've given a lot of thought to what I wanted to say and what I wanted to ask you. And honestly, just so many eloquent things have already been said, and a lot of what happened in the past is past and it's water under the bridge, and there's not much you can do about that. But my real question is, why was your statement, Mr. Mayor, in August, that the next agenda, you were gonna deal with the pool, and I went through all the agendas for the end of 2018, and the only one where the pool is mentioned, aside from salaries, is December of 2018. So that's 6 months.
You know, there should be a resolution on
Yeah,
that.
there's a
for RGR.
resolution. September.
I went through every single one 4 times.
First meeting in
I
September.
think I actually have it, I'm gonna look.
Yeah, it's there, or we wouldn't have the engineering report.
Yeah, I mean, anybody who's affiliated with that pool has known for a long time that things are very wrong. And honestly, with all due respect, I think that's why memberships are down. Why do people want to go there when very honestly, the food is unappealing, the bathhouses are not clean and presentable, and the whole facility is old? I would not be surprised if membership is down, because it's unappealing looking. You can go to Metuchen, and for $100 more, you can get a beautiful facility with a wonderful food court and dozens of activities that are offered throughout the course of the summer for people. None of those things are offered at the town pool. I mean, I love it, and I spend an immense amount of time there, and I pay as a senior, so I'm more than getting my money's worth out of that pool. And my son worked there, and still has on his bulletin board the letter that you wrote him thanking him for his service. So it's a whole part of my life and a part of all my friends. But I'm concerned about what happens if things continue not to move quickly. You're gonna lose more people. Those swimmers, a lot of them go to the town pool because of Lori. And as soon as they go somewhere else and they're successful, they will not come back. So you'll lose them too. The families who now go to Metuchen or someplace else and discover what a pool could be like, will they come back by the time everything is ready to happen? Again, I'm not urging that you rush into anything, half prepared and all, but if things take too long, people are gone. And my other concern is with Democracy Day, and I know it's non-binding, but very honestly, if you present more than one issue, which is my understanding that there's going to be several issues presented, I think if people see dollar signs, they're going to vote no. And the thought of raising rates, well, has anybody given thought to a sliding scale? What if you charge pool fees based on family income? And this way, you wouldn't have to hurt those people who can't afford it. But there are a lot of families in town, that pool is their summer vacation. And there isn't any place else that they go. And I look at the senior citizens who sit under the trees right now where we sit, and that's their social outlet for the summer. They sit and do crosswords and have, hours of camaraderie, and what happens to them? What happens to...
I feel you, it's mine too. I mean, I'm one of my kids.
I worry about the fact that taking too long to do something will mean that pool will never come back. And I'm looking at the sign behind us, vision and family. Well, I think the vision failed. I think for a lot of different reasons, people lost sight of what needed to be done. And in losing sight of that vision, you've lost the family feel.
Well, we were never going to be able to fix that pool without having a closed group.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know enough to debate that. I'm not saying that that's true or not true. I wouldn't even I did a lot of downloading.
I mean, just so you know, the meeting I'm having on Thursday, that my introduction there was through Laura.
Okay. And it just, if things take too long, and believe me, I've dealt with the school system for years and years. I know how slow things turn. I know how long it takes to get things happen. But my real fear is not having something happen quickly, even if that's a referendum in March. If it's just that, not having anything, you're going to lose the pool.
Well, yeah, just.
And I hate to see that happen.
Just so, I just looked it up, but the mayor announced on August 13th, as I said, about the urgent need of repairing the pool, and asked that we adopt a resolution for the engineer to do the study. So on September 4th, on Resolution 335, we authorize RJR Engineering for an engineering evaluation of the community hall. That report was given to us in November, and then Councilman Dean and Councilman Faustini reviewed it. We met in December, and that's when we got all the figures and all that stuff, so.
Right, but you understand, from our perspective, nothing happened till December.
Well, I'm just.
I understand that,
Yeah.
but, you know, the whole point is.
We can correct that as well. Anyone else? Yes. Sir?
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Charles Domino, 437 Fifth Street, 18-year resident. I was one of your biggest supporters of re-election. A funny story, I gave permission to have signs put up on my lawn, and I actually made a comment online, and I know it was seen by some race. I thought it was funny. I said, being one of the only supporters in the neighborhood, I had the two smallest signs. Okay? 3 days later, I get a phone call at work, and my daughter comes home and says, Daddy, what, you won't believe what happened. What's the matter? They came back and they put a big sign on the front lawn. So that cracked me up. That was great. So I'm one of the bigger supporters. Secondly, my biggest comment was about the pool, but a lot of people are beating it down, and I just want to say that, enforce that you have to realize how important this is. And I think a second opinion on how bad the pool is important. I don't care what this engineer said.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think if you don't open this pool, and I agree with this woman here, we're going to have a big problem. Because you see on social media, as soon as you mention about spending money, people say, oh, our taxes are going to go up.
Yeah.
And then there's people in town who get upset and say, well, I'm paying school taxes and I don't have kids in school.
I know.
So you're creating a lot of bad mojo. All right? And I get the feeling already the decision's been made, this pool's not opening. And that's bad.
I don't think, and Len, you're an engineer, correct me if we're wrong, or, Mr. Cullen as well, and Mr. Councilwoman Faustini's been on it. I don't think there's a possibility on earth that we could open it up and do it the right way.
Right, but you also got to remember, we don't have to do everything. We don't have to do it.
No, you're right, but you're talking about a buckling foundation of
Right,
a concrete
you're
pool.
getting one guy's opinion.
No, it already buckled, that's the problem.
And it's
I just can't believe that we were able to use it last year, and it's so much worse this year than you gave it. Than last year we had an unsafe pool.
Yeah, well,
it's not even that. It hasn't been safe for a long time.
And we shouldn't have opened it. And then why did we find out so late? And why haven't we been doing things to raise money to fix the pool? It's poor management.
well, like Mr. Cullen said, I mean, unfortunately, it's been losing money for years.
Well, why? Why can't we change it?
You can.
That's what we're trying to do.
That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to do it right. But again, here's part of the problem. You can look at, you can't raise the fees so much.
There's other ways to do it.
Sure, there's other ways to do it, but it was just as the woman behind you was talking about all the other places that you can go. You have choices in this world, right? So you can go to McCutcheon, you can go to other places where you're going to get brand new features, brand new house. We've got a pool that unfortunately was built in the 60s. We've got facilities that are all around that are dated. So we can continue to paint it, and we can continue to do what administrations before me did.
You're missing the point. Why wasn't the fundraisers done, and why wasn't money somehow another way to generate money?
I would love to think that we could raise $2 million as a fundraiser to support this pool.
We could have been notified sooner.
Well, listen, so I said essentially we did it the proper way. So as soon as the season was ended, we looked and asked the council to hire the engineer to do the work that's necessary. I think that is the right way.
I just think it could have been done sooner.
It could have been done in 2004 before I was even on this governing body. I'll admit, and we're not going to try. No, right, we're not going to try and blame people in the past. But so some governing body here, 15 years ago, decided that they were probably looking at a problem, and again, because maybe they didn't want to spend the money, they didn't want to invest in the community. They put a liner to cover up the problems. And as the years and years go on, we're finding that. We were posed with that problem again, as the administration said, when the deep end ran into problems. We didn't put a Band-Aid on that. We fixed it, and there were tough choices on there. Getting rid of diving boards, losing the diving team, things that nobody up here wanted to do. But unfortunately, because people were short-sighted then, probably the same discussions, were made. They weren't made in public, I would imagine.
No.
But to open the pool, to not lose the season, they took the shortcuts. And because of the shortcuts that were taken 15 years ago, now we're faced with the reality of doing things right, making this a facility that people, look, if we lose people, it's not what we want. Our goal is to redo this facility, do it properly, and increase membership as a result, after that.
I
That's
just
being
think
said
we
and
should
done.
have been told sooner, and we should have made steps to help generate money through programs and stuff like that.
There's still time. There's still time, but the only thing I disagree with you is there's no way we were gonna lose the season at all. It is a shame, but
It caused a lot of trouble this year.
you're right, but unfortunately, we live in the Northeast. You're not, nobody's doing pools, in January, February, March. It's just not gonna happen. On top of that, if you look at where that particular pool is built, there's a lot of water under there that are causing those problems from years ago. So there are a multitude of factors that are involved here, none of which are under our control. But again, if we're going to do it, and look, could we have been, coy, try and spend $900,000 so we don't go to the market? There's probably anything you could have done to put a Band-Aid on this pool or whatever. I don't think that's the right thing to do. I think they need that some way when I'm long gone, somebody's going to be looking up and say, what did those guys do?
Yeah.
And that's not going to be me. So we're going to do it. We're going to do it right. And hopefully, if we lose people, we will get them back because they'll let them go and enjoy. We're going to try and make sure that the residents of town can enjoy some other facility for the summer. And then what they have to come back to in 2020 will be a facility that they can be proud of, that we can be proud of. But I'm hoping we have to do it the right way. Look, John's more of in the construction business than I am.
I build pools.
Yeah.
So a typical residential pool takes 3 to 4 months.
Yeah.
It was no ifs, ands, or buts. It was going to have to be closed for one season as well to get it accomplished.
Unless you tried to do some kind of short changes, I don't think anybody up here would have supported it. It would have met the goal of not having the discussions we're having today, because what you would have seen on an agenda somewhere is a couple $100,000 to fix the community pool. And everybody would have said, oh, great, look what they're doing.
And one of the reasons why it wasn't going to be able to open this year as well, one of the main factors, was from the health department, from the county, about how bad the concrete, which obviously all you pool members notice, how bad that concrete is settled around the edge of the pool, 3 to 4 inches in some areas. So it's more of a safety issue than. I did say to Kevin as well, that's been like that for years. Obviously, it's gotten worse and worse all the time. But those are the type of things that I was saying to him today, is those are projects that could have been done little by little over time through the winters and stuff like that, targeting areas and keeping it.
We could have done more.
We could have prevented, some of the stuff could have been prevented. Not so much the shell of the pool,
Right.
the pool itself. That's a whole nother battle that, again, it's 50-something years old.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, through all past administrations, they can't speak for themselves now, but us up here now, me up here for 2 years, going on my 3rd term, and everyone else up here for 10 to 12 years, we could have been planning for it.
So is it really as important as you're saying it is to this council that we get this pool back?
Oh, absolutely.
It is to me.
I mean, I think every one of us at some point in our lives have belonged to this pool. I mean, I know I grew up in that pool, and even though we had our own above ground pool, and I have my own in ground pool now, I'm not a member to the pool, but I know my wife still goes down there with the kids on daily passes, so that my kids can play with their friends there.
Two quick things off the subject of pool, because we're beating it to death, as upset as we are. You mentioned about the roadway, we gotta get on the case about that.
Yeah,
That's
no,
real.
I'm gonna meet with.
And secondly, as I live on the corner of Pitt and Amboy for 18 years, I've seen many of accidents. I complained once, they put bigger signs to say stop. Maybe we better invest in some blinking ones.
Yeah, we can talk to traffic.
I want to get a call from my daughter to not a sign for Thank you.
No problem.
So, Councilman Dean, one of the interesting things about the decking, and we were in that meeting with some of the engineers, it's because that pool was built on the old lake, the Holly Park Lake, and that's why the administrator said that they're afraid if you empty the pool entirely, that the stuff will fall. Because it was on the old lake, they actually think that with the water level going down so much, that the pools kind of get pushed up. So those are some of the things that by putting in the zero entry would alleviate a lot of that pressure. But it's a challenge when you build it on top of a lake.
Yes.
There's been so many things commented on here, I'm trying to keep in my head everything I want to answer to. Donna Egan, I've lived in town since I was 8 years old. I'm going to give away my age by saying that I was there the first year the pool opened, and I've been there almost every year since. My 3 kids learned to swim there, they grew up there, my one son learned to walk there on the rolling hills, and all 3 kids worked at the pool. They were lifeguards, they worked in the snack stand, whatever. I can't imagine this town without the pool. I think what everybody's looking for, I mean, I can't speak for everybody, but what I think people are looking for is the assurance that you're going to do everything you can to get the pool back open. I think when you look at all the facts, it's quite obvious to me, to some of the people I spoke to, that it can't be open this summer. And that's a big disappointment. I had friends who did not want to call me up and tell me that the pool wasn't going to open because they were like, oh my God, she's going to have a heart attack. But if it was a matter of the pool being closed for like 1 year to do the repairs correctly and get it back open and make it a great facility, and people really believed that it will open again in 2020, I think you'd have a lot more support from everybody. I'm willing to, I'm putting myself on the line here and saying I'm gonna believe. Okay, I'm a Disney person.
Yeah.
So I'm willing to invest in the dream. But I'm hoping that's not a false dream. I'm hoping you're going to do everything you can to correct all the problems, make it a good facility again, have it open a year from now, and not let people who say, well, I don't want my taxes to go up $10, ruin a great facility. Because I understand, okay, we're not going to pave it over, we're not going to put a shopping lot there, we're not going to build houses there. But to just build another park there doesn't serve the needs of a lot of the people in the community.
I just want to say I agree with you. I feel it's a cornerstone of our community. It's kind of the heart of our recreation department. I mean, I personally have been a member there. Caitlin is 23. She was a lifeguard there. She, maybe 1 year old, we started to go there. All 4 of my kids have been on the swim team. You know, I think it could be a jewel to South Plainfield. So I feel very strongly, and I just want to assure you that I am working with Director Hughes. We're gathering all the information we can. We have more meetings scheduled with the engineer. We're awaiting a rendering that we can present to the public. You know, we want to put everything out there when it's you know 100% together and ready to be presented. And I am going to work closely with Councilman Dean, Councilman Benjavanga, you know, and we'll definitely have those sessions soon.
Because thinking about Democracy Day, first of all, I'm not a fan of Democracy Day, but thinking about Democracy Day being in March, and this is already January, that makes me feel like it would have to be really rushed to have all the correct information for people to be really able to vote with an informed background.
And here's one of the reasons why it's being pushed back is, you know, we were looking at originally having some spray features kind of where the baby pool is, and then obviously we have the main pool, so we know everyone wants the main pool. But then when you have that, you're going to be essentially 2 pump houses like we have now. The thought was, you know, we've already upgraded the pump house, so maybe what happens is if we have 0 entry, we could have some spray features inside the pool so that the one pump house can do it. So there's a lot of stuff. You know, I know that's an official term, but it's a lot of stuff that we're trying to get so that what you're looking at and what you're voting for, and we know what it is. And so, you know, we're trying to get as realistic of an image as Councilwoman Falsini said, and a lot of these ideas are being bandied about. We're just trying to make sure that we have the right information to present to everybody that makes sense.
Yeah, that's exactly what I want. That's why I was saying I would rather see Democracy Day pushed back a little rather than try to cram all the information
and that's
into March.
That's what I mentioned earlier. The only hesitation is we don't go too far back that, you know, assuming it passes or right. We want to make sure that we're not jeopardizing the time frame to open up, you know, in 2020. Look, and part of it, like there were people that when the school board went out, and I know we got some school board members here, and they went out on a referendum, people said that was never going to pass. And I think, whether you liked it or not, whether you blamed, some of the lack of maintenance over the years over there, I think the superintendent and the Board of Education did a great job explaining to people what they were getting for and what they were voting for. I think that's the intention here as well, is we're going to present the information. And again, it's a non-binding referendum, so whatever happens, it doesn't mean this governing body's off the hook. But we want to give the opportunity that residents go, and an opportunity to weigh in. And we'll take things into consideration as the turnout of any kind of election and stuff like that. So.
And Ms. Bethany reminded me of something as she said it. My boys are on the swim team too, as you know. And my sons are now 32 and 30, and my daughters are all three of them work there.
And the mayor's correct, that, I think with the referendum, the way they presented it and having all these informative meetings is what really sold everybody on that. Not just saying that they were going out to bond for $30 million and, this is what we were getting. They really didn't explain it very well, and that was one of the reasons why the mayor had said that, we're going to have numerous, informative meetings on the pool. So hopefully the residents will come out, even ones that are, potentially against it, to see what we're actually talking about and how we're going to improve it. Because we've seen already some of the design details of the spray feature areas, and it's nice. And Councilman Benega, when we met back in December, when we decided about changing the small pool and putting the spray features into the zero entry, he had some images online that show us, and the engineer at that time, it definitely makes sense, and it's going to be great for everybody.
And ADA compliant as well,
ADA
which
compliant.
is important.
It's unfortunate that we just, at some point or another, something has to close to only for us to make it better.
And you know what? I think if, like I said, if people feel you're really behind it, I don't think anybody's going to say, I mean, people will say, okay, but we understand that. A lot of us understand that. 1 year is 1 year. We just don't want to see it close
for good.
For good.
I think I told you, I don't want to be the mayor that closes the community pool.
Okay.
It's not on my list.
I've taken up enough of your time. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And I do want to say I enjoyed seeing all the kids that won the awards tonight. That was very
Great job.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. One of the things about the community too is that unlike the referendum where like seniors complain about, my taxes going up on my kids in the school, we have about 750 members at the pool, and 50% of them are seniors. So the pool affects every individual in the borough. So I have a strong feeling and belief that you'll get a lot of senior support, you'll get a lot of family support, a lot of single support. So it's a little different.
Stephanie?
Hi, Stephanie Robinson. Sorry, I'm not here to talk about the pool. I apologize. Two things. First thing, I want to thank you for the reappointment of planning board. It means a lot to me. I appreciate it, so thank you for that, especially the mayor and Dinesh. Second, however, I am not happy with Debbie Boyle not being reappointed. I feel like I need to say something on her behalf. For those of you who don't know, I'm very close to her. She's like another mom to me, so when I see her upset, I get very upset myself. So with that said, the parade committee has been great the last couple of years. I've been on it. This will be my 7th year. I love the committee. I take pride in it. It's a fun committee. We have a lot of fun doing it. So to see her get taken off for a new direction, very upsetting to me. I don't appreciate it. I don't think it's right. It's your decision. We can have difference of opinions. That's fine, but I'm just voicing my opinion. She's been a great leader, and I don't think you're going to do that. I have nothing against anyone being new on the committee at all. It doesn't bother me. But don't exile someone who's done so much work for this town. Everybody in this room knows it. Everybody in this town knows it. So I just think you should be ashamed that you don't put her back on. There was no issues on the committee, and if there were issues, I can assure you it was not Debbie Boyle. And this year, this parade is like going to be watching the New England Patriots play without Tom Brady, and that's sad. So, sorry. Thank you.
Yeah. Colin?
listening to Donna even talk, and I thought of a few things, and maybe it isn't a good comparison, but I do want to bring it up.
Can't understand, can't hear a word you're saying.
Okay, can you hear me?
No, what's
Is that
wrong?
thing plugged in?
Somebody turn it off, I don't know.
Is the switch on? I think it's just,
It popped because you hit it, but.
there it goes.
Can you hear me?
I didn't do it.
Now that it's plugged in.
Okay. I was listening to Donna talk, and it's not a direct comparison, but there are a few things that I do want to bring up with the library. Okay, so the library had a lot of problems. The bathrooms were disgusting. The balcony was unsafe. It was a fire hazard every single time we had an event there. I used to be the president. When I was the president, it was a very hard decision when we were doing the renovation and that we had to close the library. Some of the similar fears that Donna was saying, we had those fears on the library board because we were doing story times at other libraries where people get used to going to other towns for their library needs. So it was a very hard decision to close, but we did close. And fortunately, once we built a new and improved, up-to-date library, not only did everyone come back, but we have tripled the patronage at the library. And I do believe it's going to be the same with the pool. It's going to be a hardship for a year to close it, and you're going to have people going all over for swim lessons and, you know, tiger sharks and this and that. But then you're going to have a state-of-the-art pool once you get everything done. And I do want to make a note that the library did go out for Democracy Day, and it went down in flames, okay, because nobody wanted their taxes raised. So we did have to go back to the drawing board to figure out how to get the library done. And I will give you kudos, Mayor Nash, because it was your administration that really worked with us at the library to get it done. So if anybody can do it, it's all of you gentlemen and women out there that can get this done because you did it for the library.
Yes, and you remember the alternative for that library. Thank God we don't have that, right? Well, I think we had 4 or 5 parking spaces. You would have had pretty much a mess. And so a little bit of pain, and I think you've got a great building over there, you know, in the same location that it was. I think it turned out well.
But it was very similar because we kept putting lipstick on the pig.
Absolutely.
And the Band-Aids kept going on and on.
No offense to the pigs.
Yeah.
Mr. Sider. Just give your name for the record and address.
Jeff Sider, 208 O'Donoghue Avenue, South Plainfield.
You may want to raise that microphone.
Can't hear you, Jeff.
You'll hear me. I assume by listening to tonight's comments that every council member is in favor of the community pool.
I'm in favor of it. I can't speak.
Can I get a show of hands?
Yeah, I think I said it 3 times.
Okay, I just want to make sure for the record. My question is, why are we having Democracy Day? Because as I heard from Mrs. Egan, I am not in support, never have been, of Democracy Day.
I hear you.
Democracy Day is every November when it's election day.
I don't disagree with that. So it was put in place by prior administrations. I think we can still hold it. We can allow residents to have their input. It's not going to delay unnecessarily anything that we need to get done. For that simple reason, we will honor what past administrations put in place. Just as we did with the library, and when that went down, we found a way. So
again, I'm not concerned with past administrations. If we're not,
I understand.
If we're not going to, you know, stand on ceremonial issues with past administrations, I think moving forward, and I've had disagreements with some council people, it is your job to determine what's in the best interest of the town. You do it with salaries. You do it far more expensive things than $2 million plus for a community. I would like you to make that decision. That's what you're elected for.
Yeah, Mr. Sutter, like I said, it is a non-binding referendum. So whatever happens on that referendum does not take this governing body off
If
the
it's
hook.
non-binding, then why have it?
You and I can disagree all night. It's the governing body that agrees that they are going to honor what past administrations put in. They put in Democracy Day. I think prior candidates have complained on the notion that there was no Democracy Day. We will honor Democracy Day. We will give opportunity for residents to formally come out and weigh in on this issue. I don't see a problem with that. You may disagree, but that's the route we're going.
Now my next question. The engineers that you've had a look at this pool. You know, as somebody pointed out about vision, family, I think we need to add glasses to the vision part. Because it's as a result of the lack of vision by the past administrations that we have the problem to begin with.
I think we mentioned that as well.
Absolutely. If we go ahead and do this fix for the pool, have the engineers, Mr. Miller, you're an engineer, because it's built on the old Holly Park Lake, is it going to still be a problem? Is it really ever going to resolve itself? Because back in 1965, the recommendation was not to build that community pool at that location for the very reasons that exist today. So why are we going to throw good money after bad? Or do we have a guarantee that if the necessary steps are taken, that it's going to resolve the issue? Why wouldn't we look at another location or another site for this community pool?
So I think you have 50 years of advancement in engineering and technology. We will see what the engineers will tell us. If the engineers today in 2019 tell us that and that's not, I'm not under no belief that that's been told, that these engineers have said that it couldn't be built here and it couldn't work because technology changes. People build things differently than they did in the 60s, right? If they come back and Glenn or Councilman Falcini enlighten me, if one engineer has said that this is not the place to build it today, then I would not be in support of building it, and we will look for another place. I'm not unaware that that's been any discussion, so I'm under the belief that the location must be fine. My guess is there will be changes in technology that are going to allow for that, and we'll see.
You said you're under the belief that those discussions have taken place?
That there's been no communication that building the pool, replacing a pool in that facility is not feasible. It doesn't make sense.
Who was at the meeting?
I wasn't at that meeting. At any of the engineering meetings that we're at.
There's nothing in the engineering report that says we should not fix the pool at that location and move it. There's nothing.
Was the question answered?
No, we will. We'll double check.
Well, that's why they're doing it.
They're doing more sampling now.
They're doing the core samples for the structure. I mean, they build pools down the shore where the water table's 3 inches, you dig down 3 inches, you get water, and you build the pool, unfortunately down there, you have to leave the water all the way up to the top to hold it down. But they do have the engineering capabilities to work with it.
Okay. And that certainly should be one of the first questions.
Absolutely.
On a side note, exerting independence, I'm not happy with the comment attacking Mr. Cochran. I don't believe that any volunteer should be attacked. I think an apology is owed.
I'll go there tomorrow.
To Mr. Cochran.
To the meeting.
For that comment. Having said that, as Councilman Benjamin pointed out in his letter, I wanted to address an issue that was equally as upsetting by you, Councilman Benjamin. Okay, so when we're all going to get on our moral high horses, and this applies to all of you, I think we need to be cognizant of the things that we do ourselves. And I was offended when you, back in November, put a letter to the editor attacking Councilman Vesh for missing a third of the council meetings, when you well knew that he was attending to his own health issues and those health issues of his father down in Florida. And again, if we're all going to sit here and say we're working together, and we're all going to sit here and have these kumbaya moments, I think you equally owe Councilman Vesh an apology.
Where's the letter that I said that?
Where's the letter?
I wrote that letter?
It was in your campaign statement.
Okay, so I said that the current Democratic members of the council, which I did apologize, and I talked to Councilman Vesh about it. Half of the meetings he missed for personal reasons, half of them were because of vacation, whatnot. But at the same time, I didn't say Councilman Besh solely. Councilman Dean also missed 7 meetings the first year as well. So I had a conversation with him, but when a third of the meetings are missed by both members, I think that's relevant.
If I'd ask anybody here today if the rest of the people knew about Councilman Bishop's health issues or the health issues of his father, but you knew.
And I said, I understand half of them, but when you add up, okay, well, what about Councilman Dean, who missed 7?
And
my
point is, okay, for political purposes, I don't like what Councilman Dean did today, okay? Nor do I like what you did back then, okay? And as long as you're going to chastise people in a written statement, then you also have to be accountable for that also. And I think it's time for all of you to work, okay, but you made it public. And I think Councilman Dean should also apologize to Mr. Cochran in public, just the way that you both embarrassed fellow governing officials.
Listen, there's things that were said in the campaign that Mr. Dean approached me, that he said about certain things, and he apologized to me, and we discussed it off this day.
There's no place for it.
Right.
There is no place for it.
I think we can move on.
Behind those doors.
Anything else? Thank you.
That's it. Thank you.
Ms. Doyle.
Sandy Joy, 105 Elizabeth Town Court. Before I ask my questions, I just want to say I hope that the Board of Ed and those other people are more supportive of what you're going to be doing with the pool than many of you were with the referendum. That's my hope.
I don't know if anybody who came out against
Yeah,
or for the
Okay, well.
Councilman Need. I talked to the Board of Ed, the superintendent, and I said, I'm not going to give you an opinion one way or the other.
Right. No, I'm just saying that
you made a comment, let me address it.
Please do.
The reason is because one day I may support something that the Board of Education is doing, and that's great for the Board of Education. One day I may not. We have members from the Board of Education elected. I don't need to weigh in on everything that the Board of Education does. Right. My wife spent 6 years on the board. I think she did a great job. She supported the referendum, just like I think the entire Board of Education does. I personally voted for it. But I was not going to write letters, for or against it. I didn't think that was my responsibility. That's not where I need to weigh in. That's not where I was the expert. I think I complimented the Board of Education and the administration for the great job that they did in getting that done.
Absolutely, and rightly so. They did a great job. Yes. They did. I just want to start out by saying, Councilman Benjamin, that you, I did say something on Facebook, as you said a lot of things on Facebook, I might add.
Correct.
Saying that I thought it was very convenient that there were 2 meetings on the same night. Now, we all know in this room that meetings can be changed. And when we're talking about the 2 most important things that are on the minds of this community, building, you don't have to smirk.
You know why? Because I responded to you on Facebook saying that if you were running for mayor, you would have appointed both the planning board and the recreation commission. And you sitting as mayor would not have been able to move those meetings.
I couldn't make it move myself, but I certainly could ask. I could say these are important.
But the meeting on tomorrow is not about the pool.
But people, do you understand that people are upset about it? So whether that's what the meeting is for or not, because there was a recreation meeting, people wanted to attend.
I understand.
There's a planning board meeting, people wanted to attend. The only point I was making was, one of the meetings could have been changed. I'm sure if you would have asked them, could you please move the meeting, they wouldn't say the bylaws say we have to be on Tuesday, because if there's a storm tomorrow and 6 feet of snow, they're going to move the meeting.
And that's my point was this, that they have had those meetings on the same night for the past decade.
I understand that.
And we as a governing body do not have a say as to they're appointed and they have their own state statute that governs themselves.
I know that. What I'm saying is, if one of you would have called them and said, hey, look, can one of you move your meeting? I'm sure.
I wasn't going to call the Recreation Commission meeting because the meeting wasn't solely on the pool. We're going to have information.
Okay.
So I didn't think to call them to move because they weren't going to discuss it. But we are going to be prepared in case if somebody shows up and asks questions.
Okay, I just think personally, the public should have the opportunity to be able to attend both, since they're both issues that are very important to them. That's the only thing that I was making. Okay, then on a different note, can you please tell me what the qualifications are to be appointed to committees? Is every
In all responsibility, in all reality, there's no specific qualifications for anything. You
Okay.
can be a member of the planning board with no qualifications at all.
Okay, and are
Various backgrounds.
there any term limits on any committee?
There are not. There has been proposed term limits from a prior councilman, but those were not moved upon.
Okay.
No, there are no term limits.
Okay, so Mrs. Boyle not being reappointed was not because of any term limit on public celebrations?
No.
Okay. It was just a decision?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can you tell me, please, were Councilman Besh and Councilman Dean involved in the conversation on who were going to be on committees?
I'm not sure if they were involved at all.
No.
Were you, sir?
No.
Thank you. Okay. Now, I applied for a few committees, and I knew...
Now, keep in mind, there are three different flavors of appointments. There are mayoral appointments, which no council member is going to be... I mean, I can ask them what their opinion is, but they don't control any vote on that, and those people are appointed, at my sole discretion. There are mayoral appointments with advice and consent of council, where I can put somebody's name up, but we need a majority of the council members to pass that particular volunteer through.
Understood.
There are council appointments only where I have no involvement at all.
Okay, understood. I just wondered if, if they
That's
were
why
involved.
I asked to separate it. That was my consent, to separate the public celebrations out of it.
Okay. Well, the point that I was trying to make is that I applied for some committees, and I was fully aware that I would probably not be appointed to any. But I found it very strange that someone who has passed away was reappointed to the committee. That
They weren't
I applied-
reappointed.
They weren't?
They were on an agenda. They were not appointed at that
Because you
committee.
found out the man was dead that night, correct?
Yes, that's true.
Now, let me ask you, when you have committees and people that are serving the public and they pass away, nobody on this council knows or goes and pays respect or anything while these people are serving?
Sure, absolutely.
I can tell you, I've known John Coble, God rest his soul, he lived right behind my sister for the past 20 years, and I worked alongside that man cleaning up trash for like 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
And when I didn't know until I was shocked.
Well, see, that's my point. I'm saying if someone is working on a committee for the borough, then I would think it behooves you people to represent South Plainfield.
Well, I didn't know it passed.
I wasn't aware either.
Well, I know there was an email. I know there was an email that he had passed. But
I didn't receive an email.
But here nor there, it's just, to me, it was...
I received an email, but I understand, and even though they are mayoral appointments, I just think that I'm liaison to that committee, that the mayor would have reached out to me and said, look, this is who's up for reappointment, this is who I'm looking to reappoint. And I could, at that time, have said, well, can't reappoint Mr. Coble because, again, he has hands on black.
It just felt very strange to not be appointed to a committee, but someone who has passed away going to be appointed. It's just a little strange.
Sure.
Okay, so, and I thank you for your time.
As always. Anyone else? Let's look for it. Thank you.
Suzanne Lamport, Boulder Place. Sorry for my voice. I do have a bad cold. I'm here on behalf of the Cultural Arts Commission. Just a few different things going on. I want to thank everyone who participated in our first house decorating contest. I feel like it was a great success. We had a lot of feedback on Facebook about all the different houses that had participated. So I look forward to next year being even bigger and better. So hopefully, we'll continue this trend going forward. Some events that we have coming up on January 27th, we're doing an event at the library. It's called Driving by History, and this is a program that's currently put forth with New Jersey TV, and it's a screening that will be done by Ken Magos, and Dr. Veit, who lives in South Plainfield, will be also in attendance. And what the premise of the show is, they talk about different historical markers that you may see as you're driving down the highway, and then you think, oh, I wonder what that's for. Well, that's what their show is about.
And that's at the senior center, you said?
And that's going to be at the senior center at 2 p.m. On the 27th of January.
No, I thought it was at the library.
I'm sorry, at the library. At the library. We also have coming up our annual talent showcase. We have the date set with that for Wesley Methodist Church. And the auditions will be February 23rd and also March 3rd at 2 p.m. And then the showcase itself will be March 23rd. So we're looking forward to having a lot of different acts this year, singing, dancing, whatever it might be. You know, all ages are always welcome to participate. We do not discriminate against anyone for wanting to get up and entertain us.
But governing body members are not eligible, but that's the understanding that I
Hey, I'm just saying, you know, for the last however many years, I've gotten handshakes and whatever, but you're going to participate. And one of these times, it would be nice to have you in there.
I'll do my best.
And if that, at least talk to your son about getting the drummers in.
Okay.
I would love that.
Oh, the trash can thing that they do, yeah, I would.
Yeah.
I think Councilman White had an idea this year, right?
He has an idea every year.
No, this one is good. We think we've got something for you this year.
Okay.
To surprise you.
I'm not gonna, I will hopefully be pleasantly surprised. And then, on March 30th at the Senior Center, we will be hosting, our second murder mystery dinner, that the public will be able to attend. We have a limited number of tickets available, but we would really like a packed house. The title of the show is Murder at the Moulin. So it's kind of like a French can, and should be very entertaining. March 30th. Yeah. So, and then lastly, I just wanted to piggyback Stephanie's comments about Debbie Boyle and her impact on the community. You know, she is such a great supporter of all the different organizations. She's a member of our organization, but I think one of the biggest assets of having her on our committee as well as celebrations is it allowed us to seamlessly partner on different events that we wanted to do. And the one thing that I would ask is, I know with our commission, we have bylaws, and in our bylaws, we're allowed to have 13 voting members and I think up to 6 associate members. And that can get changed, because we're in the process of modifying our bylaws. So obviously, Celebrations probably also has bylaws where it says we have to have X number of members. Why not take these 3 people that were taken off, if they want to all 3 still serve, and just add 3 people to Celebrations, 3 extra seats? That parade is so huge and so time-consuming for all those involved. I can't imagine that they couldn't have 3 more hands helping them get ready for the event. And in that way, everybody's happy. You still have new members, you still have existing members, there's still the continuity that allows the committee to continue. Because now they not only lost a member, they lost their chair. So, you know, even if she was not reelected as chair, you still have the knowledge on the committee. So, but that's just, you know, that's my thought on it. So, but thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
For any of you who do not know, I am on the Public Celebration Committee. Last year was my first year, and at the first meeting, I had no idea what I was doing, and I was really nervous. And from the start, Debbie Boyle stepped up and led the group. Everything ran smoothly. She always asked everyone their opinion, and she never left anyone out. We always voted on everything. And she always set up the meetings and tried to accommodate for everyone, always. And if you couldn't make a meeting, she would conference you in and she would make sure that you had a vote. So when I found out that she was not being reappointed, I was shocked and very upset. When I asked why she wasn't being reappointed, I was told that we were going in a different direction. Different direction. All of the events that we ran smoothly and were praised by many people. When I asked if there was an issue and if they were unhappy about something, why it wasn't brought up to us at a meeting, or why we weren't informed about something that maybe someone did not like, then I was told that they wanted to get more people involved, which is great, and I totally understand. But I feel as though that there's a way to get people involved without kicking off one of your best volunteers. One of the hardest workers I know who goes above and beyond and gives 110% and is always there. There are other ways to get people involved, and it's upsetting to me that you would push somebody off that has been doing this for years and worked so hard. One of your jobs up there as a council person is to be able to work with others, whether you like them or not, whether they are Republican or Democrat. None of that should matter. Getting the job done and getting it done well is all that should matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? No.
Jennifer Stokel, 918 Belmore. Just one quick question. If the website has it wrong that the Recreation Commission is not responsible for the community pool, that oversees the community pool, then who is?
The recreation director, so Kevin Hughes oversees the pool. So if it's on the website that the Recreation Commission, it's probably been wrong for probably 20 or 30 years, as long as the internet was
Kevin
around.
said, well, he said, I guess, he saw it as well, and he said that, I guess, ever since the website was, I don't know when it was redone, that's when he noticed it, but, you know, again, it's, again, one of the reasons why I said about the VA's, you know.
Yeah, no, I understand. But so when the new website was done, my understanding is that essentially that was copy and pasted to the new one. That's generally how they do it. You know, and obviously anything that needs to be updated was. So yes, the Recreation Commission, not involved, Recreation Department, by means of Kevin Hughes, who is paid to run that Recreation Department, is responsible for it.
So he's the sole person responsible for making
Well,
sure
he does
that
hire
there's-
pool managers. He obviously works with the administrator. He works with the governing body.
and making sure that the pool is up to code.
It's his job to advocate for that pool up. So it's his department. His job. We all pay him to run that department.
Okay. So his job to run the pool that's closed.
It's not, well, it's closed. Of course, it's always closed at this time of the year.
No,
It's
but
not going to
closed for the
reopen
season.
most likely this year. Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And at the
That's not his only job.
Obviously, right.
His only responsibility.
At the Recreation Commission then, like, since there's no agendas and minutes, and I think I spoke to Rob and John about that, they don't talk about the community pool, or they do?
You're talking about the Recreation Commission?
Yeah, no,
Recreation
we
Commission.
discuss community pool there. We do. I mean, we, give updates and, make suggestions, but the actual, I guess, mechanics of it, the adding chemicals, I mean, that was your job. Under Kevin, and Kevin would run that, basically. They're not responsible for the chemical ordering or any of those kind of things. I'm not sure.
I'm just trying to get to the bottom of, like, obviously someone mentioned it before, like, there's poor management of the community pool, and that's why we're in a situation where the pool is closed for a season with potential of not reopening. And that's a problem.
But wait a minute, I think we all said that. It was gonna close forever, like we were saying about up to code. I think you probably went through some of those same inspections each year when we opened. I mean, when I joined the pool, I think you were actually the pool manager. I didn't work with the borough. I know at that time, in 1998, we were hearing stories that the pool was leaking. It looks like in 98 or 99 that the main drains were taken out. We're not sure who took them out. Nobody on this governing body was here when those main drains were taken out. I mean, I'm not sure if it was, when you were there or not there, and it certainly wasn't your responsibility. But I'm just saying, this has been going on. Which decade should have fixed it? Should have been the 80s, the 90s, 2000, 2010? I mean, the pool, the one issue is, it has useful life for 25 years. I mean, I think you were there, Mr. Pumper, right? When the skimmers pulled away from the wall, I mean, right?
No, I mean, like,
so, that wasn't done by Mayor Nash or John Dean or
I worked at the pool for 7 years. I worked as a lifeguard. I worked as a supervisor of the swim lessons. I worked as a co-manager of the pool. Like, I know the ins and outs of the pool.
And you know that it was leaking and
And I know it was leaking then, but that's the question.
We put in
if
new
we
pumps.
knew it was happening
We put in new
then, why
pumps.
wasn't it corrected correctly then?
The pool, if the pool generated $2
in the
million,
past 8 years.
If the pool was able to generate $2 million, we would have done it.
But when I was in charge of the pool, no one pushed me. Kevin Hughes didn't come to me and say, we need to turn a profit. There was no profit discussion. and I think other people here, that,
I don't remember.
you know, like that, it was never pushed upon the people working at the pool that a profit, it was always no one under, even Mr. English, because when I came on board, Mr. English was there. You know that, you know, maybe the pool doesn't turn a profit, but it's a value to the community, and that's why he's, and I'm just angry that we're put in a position where potentially the pool will not reopen.
When we fixed, back in 2015, we fixed the deep end, when the 12-foot section buckled, you know, the thought was at that time, once that, you know, we're calling it a repair, it was a capital fix. When that, I don't have everything, I don't have the ordinance in front of me, but when we did that, we put in we redid the whole pump house. So even though the pump house is the same, so all the work that we did there, it wasn't thrown away. So I mean, obviously the hope is that everything goes well. And that's why I had mentioned before, we wouldn't have two pump houses. The pump house, the guts of it right now are brand new. You know, that whole deep side now has all been fixed. You know, we put in the slide, we flipped around the diving blocks, and we did a bunch of things there. And for about a year or two, you know, we weren't having many leaks. It looked like, but we knew we were going to have to fix. I don't know if you were there or not when we did the recirculating system. I mean, you know, we're trying to fix the pool going forward, but it's kind of hard to plan for some of this when the membership is down. And the membership didn't fall this year, didn't fall last year. The membership's been the same, relatively speaking, for like the last 10 years.
But there's so many ways to like have parties, make money for the pool, but like that was never pushed, that was never discussed. I mean, when we did it, we had parties just for the fun of it, not just for the profit. That was never a discussion.
I think you're losing the point on whether this has to make a profit or not. That's not the message that people should walk away with here today. The point is, at some point, the work that was needed to be done, eventually, to do it right, was going to close the pool. Whether we had an engineering study, we addressed the deep end
Mayor, I understand.
Well, let me finish.
I think someone here said it best. Like, we understand that, but the idea now we're put in a position, you're having this democracy day, not
we
buying
would have had it at that point anyway. We would have had it in 15. They would have had it in 2008. They probably should have had it in 1990 or 2004 when they put a liner over it.
Was someone coming to you though asking for money to fix the pool?
Where repairs were needed, of course. That's why this governing body, most of the people that were on here,
future planning, not like temporary band-aids.
where the deep end became a problem, it was addressed. It was addressed that year. That was a repair that could be done, and the pool reopened without closing for a year. Now you're at a point where that's not going to happen. If you're advocating that we put a Band-Aid on the pool so that we don't close for a year, you're entitled to your opinion. I think you're sadly mistaken. That's not the way to go.
I'm not advocating that at all.
But at any point,
for management, why are we here?
We're here because in 2004, when who was Mayor, Dan Gallagher.
Wait a minute, but nobody in the governing body can make a 52-year-old pool.
No,
you know, 12 years old.
but they could have in 2004 undergone the investment that we're proposing to go under today. They could have done that in 2004, and we wouldn't be here talking about that. They chose not to. They obviously had enough ability where they could open, they could slap a liner on it and cover up the evidence of the deterioration that was ongoing at that point. I can't reverse what governing bodies and mayors have done before me. What I can tell you is, as we're presented with the facts and the condition of the pool now, just as we were in 2015, and we made the necessary repairs to the deep end, we're going to make the necessary repairs here. Difference is, we're not going to be able to do that and open for the 19th season. It's not possible.
I just think if you approached it saying that you were going to make the fixes to the pool, and then we would reopen, we wouldn't even be
We
here.
haven't had the question posed to the community yet. We're going to have a democracy week. There's going to be questions that this governing body over the next several meetings are going to discuss. They are going to pass what those democracy day questions look through resolution. As we're preparing those meetings, and those are finally actual resolutions to pass, you also have the ability to come in here and look and see how that's worded. There will be information sessions that you can come. We'll all be there. Kevin will be there, and then probably rec commission members will be there as well. The information is going to get out to the town. It's not happening right now, but the time is being taken to do it, and the time is being taken to fix it Correct.
And then when we're running, when the pool, okay, let's say it gets passed and we build our new pool, is there gonna be a committee that oversees the pool? Because obviously it's not the Recreation Commission, or is it just gonna be Kevin Humes?
My point, it should be the Recreation Commission.
Well, it's also the committee of the council. which is
Right.
John-
Working with the
John's-
Recreation
which is
Commission here.
Christine, John, and myself.
I have a question.
Follow
I
up.
realize I spoke before, I'm sorry. Susan Barry, 3 Bory Drive. I have a concern, so let's be optimistic and assume that this pool reopens.
Mhm.
There's gotta be some really serious relooking at how that pool is run. Because having been a member for a really long time, I can tell you which recreation people walk that pool every day and talk to people and ask what was right and what was wrong. And I'm not here to throw blame on anybody, but nobody's walked around that pool these past 2, 3, 4, 5 years and asked anybody anything.
Right.
So if somebody was in charge of the pool, we never saw them there.
Great. There'll be a lot of changes.
There'll be changes.
Anyone else? Yes. Mr. Longo, by default, you have to get up. You're the only one in that row who hasn't come up. He was up in the front.
Danielle Staunton, South Plainfield Ave. I'd like to start out by saying that I was not born in South Plainfield, property in the minority.
It's not a requirement, regardless of what you hear.
Moved here in 2007. We liked the town so much that we bought a second house in 2013 instead of looking out of town. We still own our other house as an investment property. 12 years ago, we had no small children. It was really difficult to meet other people in town. Once my daughter started attending Future Stars, I became involved in an effort to meet people and have friendships for her. My son started attending Future Stars as well, and at that time I became vice president of the PTO and eventually president of the PTO at Future Stars for approximately 3 years. Since then, I've been involved at Kennedy School on the PTSO. Over 8 or 9 years, have initiated, organized, and helped run Autism Awareness Day, served on the Pop Warner Board, worked with an animal rescue, given my time to many other organizations and events in town. Nothing I enjoy more than working in the community and giving my time to others. That being said, I'm no stranger to the level of commitment involved with volunteering. All this being considered, I was very excited to learn that there were positions available on committees in town. I was considering applying for the past few years, but wanted to make sure I had the necessary time to commit. I submitted an application with both the Mayor's Wellness Committee and the Public Celebrations Committee, as I believe those were the 2 places I would have the most to offer and make the most of my time. I was very upset when I received an email that I was not chosen, but realized that there was obviously many people who applied for these positions. I always tend to expect the best from people and was shocked and disappointed when I learned several facts. There was not one new person appointed to a committee that was not a Republican Party supporter. I will openly tell you that I'm a registered Democrat, however, I do not always vote Democrat. In fact, this is the first time I voted Democratic in the past 3 elections. Regardless of my political affiliation or my political views or who I voted for or whose sign was on my lawn, none of these should be a defining factor on who is chosen for a town committee made up of residents. I am fully aware that a group of people who chose the residents that received the spots is made up of people from a party that is in control of the council at the time. This year, that's Republican. However, these spots that are supposedly council-appointed positions did not include Democratic members of our council. Personal relationships, bickering, and issues should not come into play, as we are all adults. There are multiple people who were given spots on multiple committees. If there are so many people who applied for all these positions, why on earth wouldn't you spread the available positions to many people rather than reusing the same people over and over? The only reason I can come up with again is that only certain people were wanted on these committees. It is my understanding that there were 3 open spots available on the Public Celebrations Committee. However, at the reorganization meeting, there were 4 individuals appointed to this committee. One of the positions was given to someone who was only going to stay for a term of 1 year, instead of the 3 that is normally allowed. If you created additional spots, why wouldn't you again give this position to someone else who wasn't already a member of another committee? I would also just like to say that regardless of any personal relationships I have with people or political affiliations, I applied to be on a committee because I want great things for this town and felt I had a lot to offer. There were many new ideas I wanted to try and implement
for town events. I'm not controlled by anyone else's opinion and I have a mind of my own. I own 2 homes here and hope that my children continue to live here as adults. I want it to be great for them as town people want to stay and raise their families. I have never felt until now that I should be concerned that the people running this town do not have its best interest at heart. Instead, it seems that things are being run on their own agendas. Thank you.
So, listen, I'm not going to get into individual names, but there are members, registered Democrats in town who were reappointed Saturday. That's the facts. If you really want, you can look them up. And they were reappointed members. They were not appointed by me. I'm pretty sure they didn't vote for me. That's really not, the point. They're on the zoning board. Do the homework and look them up. They are registered Democrats. They were appointed by Democratic mayors in the past, and they were reappointed by me numerous times. So your argument is twofold. So I can kick those people off and invite new members of the community, and that's a good thing. Or I can reappoint them, and depending on what party they're in, that's also not a good thing. So you never please everybody. These are difficult decisions. You're right. We do have a lot more volunteers that look to be on boards, and unfortunately, there's a handful of boards that everybody wants to be on. Now, I know there's other boards that we cannot find people to be on. It's the reality. Planning board, zoning board, library board. Those are always ones where we get more volunteers than we could ever possibly place. So that's number one. There was not a created position on public celebrations. That was there's a 1-year term. The reason it's a 1-year term is because the individual that was in that position that was appointed, I think it's a 3 or 4 year public celebrations term, I'm not on 3. They were appointed 2 years ago, but they moved out of town. So they moved to, I believe, I'm not even sure, California. They're not serving on a public celebration. So there is still 1 year left of that term, and that individual was appointed to fill. By law, we can only appoint them to fill that 1 year. So they'll be appointed for a year, and they will come up for reappointment. Just because you're not chosen on a committee doesn't mean you can't attend meetings and also participate and volunteer. Beyond, and we'll take public celebrations as an example, there are parade marshals, there's a whole host of other people that are not on the committee that just on that one given day, on Labor Day, volunteer and serve in that capacity. And so I'm sure that's very similar on some other committees as well, but not every one of them. So look, it's a difficult decision every year, but there are, I can tell you, we're not looking at, I don't look at who appointed the individual in the previous years, because honestly, if you do that, and you look, and there are people in this audience that know that there would be a lot of different people that are on board today that would not be on there because they weren't appointed by me 8 years ago. They were appointed by either Mayor Gallagher or Mayor Vitrico, and they are registered Democrats, and that's fine. My father's a registered Democrat, so, and look what I grew up to be. So, anyone else?
Yep.
Ms. Boyle. He may have changed his registration by now, so fact check me on that one, but growing up he was a registered Democrat.
Debbie Boyle, Van Fleet. Thank you, Councilman White, for your prayer tonight. And I hope everyone really listened to the presentation that the minister made on Saturday. We all need to learn to work together, to coexist, and to learn together. And some more than others. He was truly inspiring. A comment was made to those not being reappointed to one committee, and that was that they were going in a new direction with new ideas. That's something that you tell an employee when you're going to fire or get rid of an employee or lay them off. That's not something that you say to volunteers who have given 110% of their life. Also, a volunteer was recycled. Someone who has created serious issues that are documented, yet put back onto that committee. Hopefully the residents in this borough will be considered for volunteers as the positions become available. Also, thank you to Bob Longo. Dr. Temple couldn't be here this evening, but I've spoken about this contest. I think it was an amazing way for the young students to realize what it means for sustainability in South Plainfield, and that's what it focused on, South Plainfield. And again, thank you to Dr. Longo, and those videos and the, Dr.
You
Longo, I
just
just gave you
promoted.
the title. It's like a doctor. Those children's videos and essays will be up on the new Green Team website that we will use to focus on the residents. It was good because the students had to go home and ask their parents what sustainability meant, and then they did their own research. You could tell by reading their essays. There were a total of 20 essays, so that was very good. Also, back in 2015, Nicole Moretti, Jean McConville, other parents and myself stood up here when you were filling in the pool asking if you could find a place for the dive team. We were told, yes, you would look into that. That never happened. So we lost all those students who not only dove, who also swim. And hopefully there will be a place for the swim team to go. I know there are surrounding pools who would be willing to allow maybe 2 nights a week for our teams to practice, and then they could still compete at South Plainfield. Also, the spelling bee is Wednesday, January 30th. It's at the Senior Center. It starts at 5:30. We will have the South Plainfield High School Jazz Band entertain. 2 years ago, we had Silver Linings, but those students went off to college. So hopefully this will be nice. And we're looking to donate funds to the high school music department. And the bee begins promptly at 6 o'clock. And this is 4th and 5th grade only. This is under the auspices of the National Women's Federation of Suburban Women's Clubs. And partnering with us is the Cultural Arts Commission that has been partnering with us for many years. I think it's great that we all work together that way and we partner together. So hopefully we'll see you there. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Sure, why not?
Please. Ladies, gentlemen, Mayor, Council, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Shopping, 505 Maple Ave. Probably heard me on Facebook, trying to save the pool. For over 50 years, South Plainfield residents have found solace in dog days this summer.
Must be out again, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you just take it off. You twist it on the end there.
Now you gotta sing.
So,
Now you got it.
You got it. Don't worry, we're getting
Hello?
the sound system.
Yes.
We're going to put that in the pool bond. For over 50 years.
South Plainfield residents.
No, it's his.
Um,
I think it's better.
I'm just gonna go talk to her. We'll just turn around. I'm just gonna go sit next to her now. So for over 50 years, South Plainfield residents have found solace from the dog days this summer. Hanging out at the community pool. Many of the residents, including myself, have a real connection to the community pool. Attending middle school picnics, watching our children swim for the first time, meeting up with old friends, finding new ones, holding picnics in that little picnic grove with the new playground. Just kicking back in a beach chair and watching tiger sharks slice through the water to practice. It's scary that the pool has been left on the shoulders of the taxpayers. But it's something we need to do. Could this been addressed in the last 20 years? Probably should have. Unfortunately, you guys are the surgeons holding scalpel. And the operating table is the community pool. Right? So, steady hands. And we trust you guys will do the right thing. And we'll trust that accountability, if there is any, will be sought out. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you. And look, the residents can write letters to the editor. They can support this. Once all the details, once the Democracy Day is set, again, I expect that anybody who's out here advocating today and has grown up and their families and have enjoyed the pool would be doing the same thing, right? So there's plenty of time for that, and once we get further along with those plans and those announcements, you'll be able to make those plans. Anyone else? Dr. Longo, going once.
There you go.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public portion. We are going into executive session. You don't have to leave. We'll be back as soon as possible. There are no additional items to add to tonight's agenda at this point. For a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting. We are adjourned. Have a good evening.